Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to Manflow Yoga. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to avoid wrist pain while doing planks. This can be when you're doing yoga, it can be when you're doing bodyweight exercises or push-ups, but I'm going to show you the proper technique to avoiding wrist pain and why most people do it incorrectly. And then I'm also going to talk about the imbalances that cause that wrist pain. So if you're still feeling pain while you're doing it, I can explain what those imbalances are and how you can start to work on them. But we're going to start with the proper technique, see if that helps, and then if it's still not helping, we'll go into the imbalances section. So here we go, straight into it. So when you're doing a plank, the biggest problem is that most of us tend to put all of the weight into our wrist, and we're not being active with our hands. We're not actively kind of grabbing the ground with our fingers and pushing down to that area where the fingers meet the palm, or kind of the webbing of your fingers. So when you're doing plank, you're going to start by, let's make sure that the index fingers are parallel to the sides of the mat or at a 90-degree angle. And then I want you to think grabbing the ground with your fingertips and then pushing down through where the webbing of your fingers or where your fingers meet your palms. Okay, so we're being really active through there and avoiding putting all of the weight into the wrist. Okay, so don't push at the bottom of your hand where your wrist is, right? So not here, but you want to make sure that you are pressing down through the fingers where the fingers meet the palms, and then lightly lifting the wrist, just a tiny bit, not where you're lifting the wrist all the way off the ground. You're still going to have contact with the bottom of the palm, the wrist, and the ground, but you're not just sinking it down and being totally inactive. So think most of the weight in the middle of your hand. And then try the plank, and you're going to notice that your forearms are much more active. You're going to feel your forearms working much more than usual. Your hands are going to be working much more than usual. And that might feel uncomfortable at first, but that's okay, because we just need to get used to that. We need to build that strength in the hands and the forearm muscles in order to alleviate that pressure on the wrist. So that's what you want to do to try and avoid wrist pain while you're doing a plank, while you're doing push-ups, or even when you're doing, a down dog. So it just comes down to being more active through your hands and your forearms. Now, if you're still getting pain in your wrist, then it's going to come down to more of an imbalance. If you do a lot of yoga and you don't do any sort of resistance training or any sort of pull-ups, then it's very common to have an imbalance in your wrist, because all you're doing is extension with your wrist. So if all you're doing is extension, which is when your fingers are coming back toward your hand, or your fingers are coming back toward your arm like this, and you're not doing any sort of flexion, which is where you're pretty much doing a wrist curl, then you're going to have an imbalance that causes pain, especially if you're doing these repetitive plank-like movements. So the way to fix that is by strengthening wrist flexion. So you can do wrist curls, you can do pull-ups, just hanging on a bar is enough. You can hold dumbbells at your sides, doing a farmer's carry. You can do biceps curls, but the point here is that we want to strengthen the wrist through wrist flexion rather than all this extension that we tend to do while we're doing yoga. So that's pretty much it. That's the yoga fix for this week. Again, I just wanted to show you a quick little tip to work on making sure that you can avoid wrist pain, and also going into some of the imbalances that can cause wrist pain. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell button to get notifications so you know as soon as a new video is released. And if you want to learn more about what I do with Manflow Yoga, be sure to check out my website at manflowyoga.com. That's it. I'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next Yoga Fix, and have a good week.